Imagine a city gripped by fear. Not of war nor famine, though those spectres often lingered. This fear was stranger, more bewildering. It arrived on dancing feet. Strasbourg, July 1518. The height of summer. The air thick not just with heat, but with desperation. Recent years had been cruel failed harvests, rampant disease, the shadow of death was a constant neighbor. And then, she appeared. One woman. Frau Trophia. She stepped into the narrow street, not walking, but dancing. Not with joy, not with any discernible rhythm. Her movements were frantic, uncontrolled. A puppet whose strings were pulled by an unseen, malicious hand. For hours she danced. Alone. Under the unforgiving sun. Sweat pouring, limbs flailing. Passers-by stopped, watched. Some with pity, some with morbid curiosity, some perhaps with a dawning dread. This wasn't celebration. This was something else. Something wrong. Within a week, the solitary dancer was no longer alone. Dozens had joined her. Men, women, even children, seemingly seized by the same invisible force. They mirrored her tortured movements, their faces masks of exhaustion and confusion, yet utterly unable to stop. The streets, once bustling with commerce and daily life, transformed into a grotesque, open-air ballroom. Panic began to ripple through Strasbourg. What was this affliction? Was it divine punishment? Demonic possession? The city council convened, desperate for answers, desperate for a solution. Their initial diagnosis, based on the prevailing medical understanding of the time, seems almost absurd to us now. They declared it a natural disease, caused by hot blood. And their cure? More dancing. Yes, you heard that right. The authorities believed the afflicted needed to dance the fever out of their systems. They cleared open spaces, erected wooden stages in the grain market and the horse market. They even went so far as to hire professional musicians, pipers, drummers to provide a constant beat, hoping to guide the chaotic movements into some semblance of order, to encourage the healing process. Imagine the scene. Hundreds of people locked in a relentless, involuntary dance. Their bodies weakening, their feet bleeding, their minds seemingly disconnected. And around them, hired musicians playing jaunty tunes, urged on by officials who genuinely believed this was the path to recovery. It was a surreal, horrifying spectacle. But the cure had the opposite effect. The public stages, the relentless music, it didn't heal. It seemed only to encourage the phenomenon. More people succumbed, drawn into the vortex of movement. The dancers weren't sweating out a fever, they were collapsing. Dying. Reports from the time, chronicled by concerned physicians and scribes like Paracelsus and the Sebastian Brandt Chronicle, paint a harrowing picture. People danced for days without rest. Some suffered broken ribs, bruised and blooded feet. Others simply collapsed from sheer physical exertion, their hearts giving out. Estimates suggest that at the plague's peak, as many as 15 people per day were dying from this bizarre compulsion. The total number afflicted climbed steadily, eventually reaching a staggering figure. Over 400 souls trapped in this waking nightmare. As the death toll mounted, the city council realized their hot blood theory, their prescribed dancing cure, was a catastrophic failure. Panic morphed into religious terror. If medicine couldn't explain it, perhaps the cause was supernatural. Attention turned towards divine wrath, or perhaps the curse of a specific saint. Their focus landed on Saint Vitus, a saint sometimes invoked against neurological disorders, including chorea conditions involving jerky, involuntary movements, which superficially resembled the dancing. The narrative shifted. This wasn't hot blood, this was the vengeance of St. Vitus. The authorities reversed course completely. Dancing was now banned. The stages were dismantled. The musicians silenced. Public gatherings for revelry were forbidden. Instead, the afflicted were to seek penance. They were rounded up, put into wagons, and transported away from the city to shrines dedicated to Saint Vitus, located in the nearby Vosges Mountains. There, they were to pray, make offerings, perhaps wear special red shoes blessed by priests, hoping to appease the angered saint and lift the curse. Did it work? Historical accounts become less clear here. Some suggest the afflicted gradually recovered after these pilgrimages. Others imply the mania simply burned itself out as the summer waned. What is certain is that the Great Dancing Plague of 1518 eventually subsided, leaving behind a traumatized city and an enduring mystery. So, what truly caused hundreds of people to dance themselves, quite literally, to death? The St. Vitus explanation was born of its time, a reflection of deep-seated religious beliefs and superstitions. But modern analysis seeks more grounded answers. One popular theory, often cited, points to ergotism. This is poisoning caused by consuming rye bread contaminated with the ergot fungus. Ergot contains psychoactive alkaloids related to LSD, which can cause muscle spasms, convulsions, hallucinations, and gangrene. It's known as St. Antony's fire. While plausible for causing physical and mental distress, historians debate whether ergot poisoning could induce such specific, coordinated, dancing behavior lasting for weeks, rather than more chaotic twitching and seizures. Furthermore, ergotism often came with gangrene or severe digestive issues, which weren't the primary symptoms reported in Strasbourg. Which leads us to the most widely accepted, yet perhaps most unsettling, explanation. Mass psychogenic illness. Also known as mass hysteria. Consider the context again. Strasbourg in 1518 was a pressure cooker of anxiety. Extreme poverty, famine, the terrifying spread of diseases like syphilis and smallpox, combined with fervent religious beliefs and deeply ingrained superstitions about divine wrath and demonic forces. The stress was unimaginable. In such an environment, it's theorized that the extreme psychological distress manifested physically, erupting within a shared cultural framework, in this case, the belief in curses and the power of saints like Vitus. Frau Troffia's initial, perhaps stress-induced, episode might have acted as a trigger. Others, already primed by fear and hardship, saw her and unconsciously succumb to the same state, believing themselves afflicted by the same supernatural force. It became a psychological contagion, spreading through suggestion and shared belief in a community pushed beyond its breaking point. The authorities' initial response, validating the dancing by building stages and hiring musicians, inadvertently legitimized and amplified the outbreak. This wasn't the only time such phenomena occurred. Similar dancing manias were reported, albeit on smaller scales, in various parts of Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries, often coinciding with periods of great hardship. They serve as chilling reminders of how profoundly the mind can affect the body, especially under conditions of extreme, unrelenting stress. The dancing plague of 1518 remains a bizarre and terrifying chapter in human history. While we may never know the exact trigger with absolute certainty, the evidence points strongly towards a perfect storm. A community steeped in fear and superstition, ravaged by famine and disease, pushed into a state of collective psychological breakdown that manifested in the most extraordinary and deadly way imaginable. It's a stark lesson in the power of the mind, the fragility of society under pressure, and the terrifying depths of human experience when pushed to the absolute edge. The dancers are long gone, but their silent, frantic steps echo through history, a haunting question mark we still strive to fully understand.